TaraChessAcademy, and today I'd like to show you a game played in the 6th round of the 44th World Chess Olympiad. Are you ready for it? Well, let's get right into it. So we have white as Anton Simonov and Magnus Carlsen is black. So we start off with e4, knight to c6, knight to f3, d6, d4, knight to f6, knight to c3, and g6, preparing to develop his bishop to g7. And then we have h3, bishop to g7, bishop to e3, kingside castles, queen to d2, preparing queenside castles. And then we have a6, bishop to d3, e5, and we have some trades in the center. So d takes e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and d takes e5. And then we have queenside castles, and now we reach a position where we have opposite sides castling. So here black's plan is to target the queen side, and white's plan is to target the king side. So we'll see how that goes here. So we have d5, d4, c6, f3, bishop e6, and h4. Preparing the move h5 and trying to really open up black's king side. So we have queen to a5. So the point of this is that if white is targeting the king side, black better do something. So he moves his queen to a5 and pressures this pawn on a2. So then we have a3, rook f to b8, and bishop to c5, stopping the move of b4. If we had let black play b4, then things could have really gotten worse for white. After moves like a takes b4 and queen to a1, then black is really trying to open up white's queen side and really enter in here. So to stop all of this activity for black, we have bishop to c5. So then we have h5, stopping white's plan of playing h5 himself. And then we have bishop to d6, just attacking the rook and pressuring the pawn. So then we have rook b7 and king b1. And then we have rook d8, bishop to b4, attacking the queen. So the queen goes back to c7, and we have knight to e2, rook d7, and queen to c and bishop to c5. The point of this is to stop black from playing c5 himself, because if he had played this, then white's light square bishop would get trapped. So to stop this, white chooses to move his bishop to c5, and then we have h takes g4, knight to g3, just trying to improve the position of the knight, and also keeping in mind that if he wants an attack on the king side, he had missed the opportunity to go h5, so he should try to maneuver his pieces over to the king side. So that's exactly what white does here, knight to g3. And then we have g takes f3, h5, queen to d8, h takes g6, f takes g6, queen to g5, and king to f7, protecting the pawn. And then we have knight to f5. A pretty cool sacrifice, because if the pawn had taken, then we would play a move like rook d to g1, and after king to e8, protecting his bishop, then we would play queen to g6, really entering in here. And then after rook to f7, we would play rook h7, putting even more pressure on this bishop. And if this knight were to take the rook, we would just get this bishop. So it would be a simple trade. So after rook h7, if black had played his bishop to f8, we would move our rook h8 and put some even more pressure on this bishop. And then after king d7, protecting the bishop, we would play e takes f5, trying to open up the position here. because black's king is in the center, and that's exactly what white wants to do here. So then after, we would get a position like bishop to g5, and black would be actually worse here. So their position is really starting to fall apart, and white is really starting to achieve his attack. So going back a couple of moves after knight to f5, we would play, black had played knight takes e4. And if we play a move like knight to h6, giving a check, bishop took, queen takes h6, bishop to f5, protecting the knight. And then after king to a2, sort of like a waiting move, but also getting the kings in the same diagonal. Maybe that gives you a clue as to what would happen later. Did you guess queen to g8? Well, if you did, that's exactly what Magnus played here. Trying to get the king and queen and white's king all on the same diagonal. Let's see what black's plan could be next. If white were to play bishop takes e4, and then so white played bishop takes e4, and then after bishop takes e4, then white would decline the trade. He would play his rook in e1, attacking this bishop, and behind it the pawn on e5. So now it's time for a really brilliant move. Take a look at how strong this diagonal is for black, and see if you can spot the move that Magnus found. Feel free to pause the video and think to see if you can get the answer right. Did you guess king to f6? Well, if you did, you're right. King to f6, launching an attack on the king. And if the king moves back here, then black would move his rook to h7. And then he's just stopping white from creating this attack. So going back, white played b3. And then we have rook to h7, attacking the queen. And so white moves his queen back to e3, pressuring the bishop, and also saving the queen as well. So we have rook takes h1, rook takes h1, queen to d5, just centralizing the queen and protecting the bishop. And then we have king to b2, rook to d7, rook to h8, and white is just completely lost here. Because after a move like bishop to f5, and rook to f8, and rook to f7, and then rook to e8, queen to e4, offering a queen trade, white would decline this by queen to d2. And then after a move like king to g7, and then bishop to f2, stopping this pawn from promoting, and black would play queen to e2. So that was the point of all of these moves, that he's going to play this move queen to e2, and if the queen takes and the pawn takes and the rook takes on e5, we're trying to stop this pawn, but it's only a temporary stop, because black would just move his bishop to g4, and then after bishop to e1, occupying the promotion square, then black would play rook to f1. And then after we protect the bishop on c3, getting on the same diagonal as the king, then the king would just dodge it and go to f7. And then even though white has done a pretty good job of controlling e1, it's not stopping these pawns from advancing, plus this passed pawn. So white had nothing better here to do than resign. So after the move queen to e2, and white had resigned in this game, because if he didn't, then we all know that it would be pretty simple for black to win this game. He has this passed pawn and all of these pawns that he can potentially use to get a queen. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and going back to this game, I'd like to say that game was pretty much about attacking and where to attack and the timings of your attack. So like black, we knew there was different sides of attacking here. But if white had played h5 much sooner, then we possibly would have landed into a total different game. And then after this, it's totally different. So it's also possibly about the timings of your attacks, along with where you're attacking and how strong your attack is. And we can see how you can improve your attack, and that is by getting more pieces closer to the side where you want to attack on. So black had planned to attack on the queen side. So all of his moves suggested that he was going for his plan. And white was going for his plan, but he sort of delayed it. Or maybe it was that black had stronger threats, and white wasn't really able to execute his plans further. So going back to this sort of weird opening by black, it actually did pay out for Magnus Carlsen. It led out into a more complicated game where white might have not been so expected on what was going to happen next. Because usually in such games, we would expect moves like e5 or c5, the Sicilian defense, or e6 and d4, the French defense. So playing this move, knight to c6, may have caught him off guard, and it's possibly that not many people play this. The thing is that you can play the Nimzovich defense as a total beginner, but you could also play it as a total expert of the line, like Magnus Carlsen is. He did play a weird opening. He knew exactly what he had got out of it. He had a good position. It was fine. It wasn't really that he was in danger a lot. So he really got more of the sort of attacking feel here. Like the attacking sense that black is going for this attack and white's attack is sort of delayed here. So I hope you understood this game and started to get a better feel of the elements of attacking. So I hope you can learn from this and use these elements in your own chess game. Well, I hope to see you next time, and if you did enjoy this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video to others. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!